Hi there, it's been a little while since I've made another video for you. I haven't made any new videos regarding the Bitcoin price because everything has basically been going exactly the way I thought it was going to be going, with a small new development which brings me to my video today. On the screen right now you can see I'm just going to decrease these indicators quickly, the size of them, so we can get a good look at what Bitcoin is doing. If you remember, originally I had a big flag or pennant or triangle, whatever you'd like to call it. Those are these blue lines right here. Actually not the blue lines. It's this top blue line and this bottom yellow line was the original triangle. And we followed this triangle, or the inside of this triangle, for quite a while, as you can see now. We operated within this triangle for quite a while until we reached this stage here. We didn't notice it then, but once we got to this one and then this one, we noticed a slight uptrend. The bottoms weren't reaching anywhere near the bottom of the triangle anymore. So I redrew the bottom of the triangle to point slightly steeper up, you'll put it that way, or higher up, at a higher angle up. And we've been pretty much, or rather we maintained that angle for a little while, until there, or rather until this point here. And now what has happened, we have seen another departure from this angle to go even steeper again. So what this points to me is a slow turn, or rather the bottom of the curve forming of the Bitcoin chart at the moment. So we are, although the prices seem to be stagnant or actually coming down, because the larger triangle or pennant actually is a descending pennant, really, or it was. You see the highs became lower and lower and lower, and the lows were more or less the same all the time. What we've reached the stage now where the price seems to have, or rather the chart seems to have departed from this huge triangle, although it's still operating within this triangle, and I think it's still part of it. We've seen, or we are seeing, a new structure or a new pattern forming within this triangle, the end of this triangle, the last legs of it, put it that way. I'm going to show you something now. You can see, I shouldn't have made that so big now. I wanted to show you something else first. You can see that up until this point here, we were still operating within the confines of this big blue triangle as it is here now. But when we reach this point here, and you will remember I plotted call it a pattern within the pattern, just on a much smaller, more focused scale, and it worked perfectly well, and we broke out of that on the downside, and we had a good sell-off after that. But since then, the pattern has changed, and I want to show you something now. If I increase the scale of this so that we can see it better, get this whole thing on the screen. If I now draw a line, because remember I said this bottom blue line was a trend that was forming, and it was valid up until this point right here. What has happened now is, as you can see, that bottom basically reached that line. This bottom never did, although we did touch on it there very, very briefly, as you can see by that little candle wick going down there. I don't consider that actually counting. But now I want to show you something. If I draw a line now from this high, which is now basically broken away from it hasn't broken out, it is just not obeying this formation anymore. If I go from that high and I draw another line there, and then I draw another line from basically that low to that low, as you can see now, we have the bottom of this pattern is now steeper than this blue line again. So that is now the third the third bottom that has changed its pitch or its angle upwards. So it's getting steeper and steeper. In other words, the bottom of the curve is now rounding out. But now what interests me is the fact that if you look at where these two intersect, we are looking at the 8th, maybe the 9th, depending on, I could quite easily, I could quite easily go and move that to be exactly on the tops of the wicks or whatever, but I'm not trying to be too accurate here. But if I go and look at where those two intersect, we are looking at basically, I would say, between the 8th and the 10th of October. Anywhere there, we reach the end of that triangle. Now, whether we follow this pattern, this new pattern that I think is forming and is coming to an end very quickly, or we follow the original pattern, my estimate is that, because if we follow this, the new pattern that I've just drawn here with these mildly orange lines, if we break out on the upside of that, I think we are going to go to at least somewhere here on the original triangle, which brings us back to exactly between the 9th and 10th of October, which is basically the same timeline as the new triangle that is forming. So I think, my opinion is that the pressure is now built up so much, and the frequency has changed. Put it this way, the frequency of these waves has changed, and we are now getting into a condition of what I would call pressure. There's been pressure formed in these triangles, and it's been increasing at an increasing rate. That's why these bottoms are getting steeper and steeper, and I don't think they can get much steeper than they are now, because we are basically, it's the 5th today, and these two lines intersect on the, call it between the 8th and the 10th, average the 9th. So we've got at the most 4 days before Bitcoin, or before the Bitcoin chart breaks out of this new pattern. But I think we are at the point where even if it is said that I'm wrong about this new pattern forming, which I don't think I am. I've been watching a few pretty well-known and pretty accurate YouTubers who have been doing this charting a lot longer than I have, and who know a lot more than I do. I mean, I'm just an amateur here. And whatever they are saying pretty much agrees 100% with what I've been seeing in my charts and interpreting from the charts myself. So I'm pretty confident in what I'm saying here. I see us breaking out within the next, at the very most, look, we might go right into the point of the new triangle formed. I don't think we will. But therefore I say before the 9th, on average, before the 9th, I think we are going to see the breakout of this pattern. Now, as you know, this line at the bottom here, this yellow line, which used to be the bottom of the original triangle, is basically at the 6,000 mark, somewhere around the 6,000, 5,800 mark, depending on where you'd like to put it. Like I said, my charts are not that accurate. I'm looking for the overall pattern here, but let's just call it the 5,700 mark, where it is right now. The charts have been testing this level for months now. Basically since, I think it was February, they have been coming down, and I'm not going to go back and count how many times now. It's probably at least 5 or 6 times that they've come down and tested this level, and they've never been able to break it, at least not for very long. I think I recall one breakthrough through that level, and it stayed down there maybe a few hours or something, and it came back up again. But we've had no real break of that level. So, and also at the same time, every rally we have had in Bitcoin in reaching the top of this triangle has failed, and every rally has been lower than the previous one. So, having said that, it is possible that we might have a breakout on the bottom side of this triangle and then go through this way. If that happens, I think we could see a significant drop in the price of Bitcoin. I'm hoping that's not going to happen, but I don't think so. Normally, reach so much pressure within in a triangle or pennant like this, the breakout is normally on the upsides. That is what I'm counting on, and I'm predicting. So that, like I said, is right now on the chart. It's the 8th. There's the 9th. So I would say by the 9th, we are going to see a decent breakout of this triangular pattern that's been forming in Bitcoin for the last 8-9 months. That is basically the gist of my video for today. I don't think the other smaller exchanges like Luna, I'm going to show you what is happening on Luna at the moment. There is some serious, I'm not going to call it manipulation happening here, but stabilization happening on this exchange that I cannot explain. If you look at all of these where they trade absolutely perfectly flat for hours on end, you'll see buy and sell walls put up here, huge amounts of Bitcoin, and they just sit there. The price sits there, and the fluctuations happen on the bigger exchanges by up to $100, and Luno literally does absolutely nothing. It sits there dead still. I think it's people using, it could even be the exchange itself, using these tactics to stabilize the price for a while they can actually see where the bigger exchanges are going, the international exchanges, and then just letting it go. Cancel those buy walls and let the price go to catch up with the international ones. Obviously, they know beforehand where they're going to go, so they can make money out of it that way. That's my idea anyway. But generally speaking, if you watch the international charts, you know where Luna is going to go anyway. And I'm speaking of Luna now because I'm in South Africa, and Luna is a South African exchange. I'm speaking basically to my South African audience here now who are trading on Luna. A lot of South Africans, they don't really know much about cryptos and Bitcoin and everything else. Or if you want to talk to them about buying Bitcoin, the first thing that comes to their mind is Luna. It's the only exchange in South Africa, and it's all they know. So I do buy and sell on Bitcoin. I sell most of my Bitcoin on Luna because their prices are generally the most expensive out of all the exchanges. So I buy and sell, or rather I buy elsewhere and I come and sell my Bitcoin on Luna because I get better money for it, more money for it. That is about my story for today on Bitcoin. Stand by for at least another, at the maximum I would say another 4 days, and we will definitely know where we are going with Bitcoin. From October to December, as we all know, is Bitcoin season. It's that's when Bitcoin runs, and any time from the 9th, I would say, to the middle of October is when things are going to start happening. That's how I see it anyway.